morning and welcome to Korea Today, brought to you live from Seoul.
This just in, North Korean state media reports ousted former number 2 Jang Song-taek has been executed immediately following a special military tribunal sentencing.
It's now on its 5th day. The nation's railway workers union continue to stage a strike. More coming up in the headlines.
And following GM, another foreign car maker is set to shrink their production numbers here in Korea. More details coming up on In Print.
Could this be the currency for the future? We'll tell you everything you wanted to know about Bitcoin.
She is considered the first-generation Hallyu star. Younha, who kicked off her career a decade ago, has released a new album perfect for the winter. We sit down with the singer-songwriter. It has been a source of comfort and pure pleasure for half a century that can be enjoyed at breakfast, lunch, and dinner. We check out various Ramyun recipes on this Friday, December 13th, 2013.
From Arirang News, this is Korea Today.
And good morning, you're watching Korea Today.
Good morning, everyone. It's a cold morning here in Korea and a slippery one, too, as the snow we received yesterday has turned into ice overnight. So you might want to get a head start on the morning commute today and do bundle up on your way out.
That's right. It was a slippery one coming out to work in the morning and a cold one as well. And speaking of the cold, the Energy Ministry announced that a preliminary crackdown will begin against people, or actually businesses, that operate heaters with their business doors wide open. So that is a waste of energy there. Next Monday, this will begin, and violators will receive a preliminary warning. And following that, in the first business day following the new year, violators will receive a preliminary warning first, but second-time offenders will receive a fine of up to 3 million won, roughly about $2,900 US.
That's right. It's the latest measure to save electricity, to save energy. So let's do our part to save energy and also keep warm.
That's right. All right, coming up is your headlines with Hyuna.
Let's start with the breaking news coming out of North Korea. Pyongyang state-run news agency says Jang Song-taek, the longtime second-in-command and uncle of leader Kim Jong-un, has been executed. The agency reports the execution took place on Thursday, immediately after a special military trial. This comes after a matter of days after the regime decided to expel Jang as well as his aides for engaging in anti-party and anti-state activities. Before his removal, Jang served as the vice chairman of North Korea's National Defense Commission and also as the chief of the Central Administrative Department of North Korea's ruling Workers' Party. And we will keep you updated with further developments, so stay with Arirang for more information on this story. But for now, let's move on. Another 860, and now the figure stands at 7,608. That's the number of the nation's unionized railway workers who have been removed from their posts for going on strike. The union and management are still unable to find common ground. The union still claims the management of the state-run operator Korail will eventually privatize the company, while the government is calling the union's strike illegal. Those most affected by this strike are not morning commuters, but the country's distribution centers.
Only 32 freight trains out of the usual 72 are operating due to the railway union strike. We are holding an operation rate of about 44%.
And although no one was hurt, Korail decided to lower the overall train operation rate in light of Thursday's freight train accident that occurred down in Gyeongsang-Bukdo. The company will lay out its plans at 10 a.m. on Friday. In the meantime, the union says it will file a petition at the country's Human Rights Commission against Korail for indiscriminately removing workers from their positions. The nation's spy agency has unveiled its own reform plan amid the ongoing controversy over its alleged meddling in last year's presidential election. The reform proposal includes restricting National Intelligence Service agents from freely entering the National Assembly, political party headquarters, and media outlets. It also includes making all NIS agents swear an oath that they will not intervene in politics during their tenure. The ruling Saenuri Party welcomed the proposal, saying it presents a clear guideline. However, the main opposition Democratic Party was not so positive about it. It said the proposal does not discuss the central issues such as toughening Parliament's control over the agency's budget. Korea has signed a landmark export deal worth more than $1 billion with Iraq. The Korea Aerospace Industries will provide 24 light fighter jets, T50IQs to be exact, for $1.1 billion to Iraq by 2017. The deal also includes pilot training and other operational support for the next 2 decades, making the total value of the deal more than $2 billion.
Up until now, exports of fighter jets were considered as something only big airliners would do. But I believe we have written a new chapter for Korea's aviation industry by supplying fighter jets to other countries.
The T50IQ is a supersonic light fighter jet that can also be used as an advanced trainer jet. It can load more than 4,500 kilograms of air-to-air as well as air-to-surface armed gear. The biggest strength, officials say, is that it's one of the world's most advanced trainer jets. Korea is calling on Japan to take down multiple videos that claim territorial rights over the Korea-controlled Dokdo Islet in the East Sea. Seoul's Foreign Ministry spokesperson Jo Tae-young told Tokyo to, quote-unquote, open its eyes to the historical truth, and also urged it to remove the 90-second-long clips immediately from the Japanese government website and YouTube. Tokyo on Wednesday posted videos in 9 different languages, including Korean, using the Japanese name for the islet, Takeshima. Last month, Japan's foreign ministry posted a similar video in English on its YouTube channel, which was also condemned by Korea.
And good morning, everyone. Time now for a look through your newspaper headlines. We'll go ahead and begin with Ilbo this morning, which treats as its top the nation's spy agency's plan to self-reform itself. Ilbo's headline reads, National Intelligence Service says it will keep political neutrality with personnel pledge. That written pledge will be made mandatory of all NIS staff, as will be a commitment to not join any political parties or carry out political activities for 3 years after retirement. Other self-correcting measures include the option for employees to object to a superior's direction that can be seen as political in nature. NIS staff will also be required to receive legal advice on work that is sensitive in nature. Meanwhile, the paper also treats highly Korea's record $1.1 billion deal to sell F-50 light attackers to Iraq, a story you just heard from Hyungyang's headlines there. Let's go ahead and scoot on over to Ilbo. Its top story takes us to the issue of transmission tower development, and the headline reads, Transmission Tower Agreement. Gunsan was different from Miryang. Miryang, you'll remember, is the area where its townspeople have been waging a determined fight against Korea Electric Power Corporation and its plans to build power lines, some of them through mountains that serve as the burial grounds of Miryang's residents. But another city, Gunsan, which also had strongly resisted KEPCO's transmission tower building plans for some 5 years, has reached a settlement based on compromise on both sides, according to the paper. That settlement is that KEPCO would accept the people's request to revise the route away from the farmland, but if technical problems are found, then the residents would accept that original plan. And real quickly, going back to the ongoing strike, the rail workers' strike, and their impact here on this country. KTX, the bullet train, is set to shrink its usual schedule by 13% over the weekend in the Friday, Saturday, and Sunday period. So for those of you guys traveling locally this weekend, definitely keep an eye on that schedule. Meanwhile, 중앙일보's main headline this morning reads, local sporting events blow 1 trillion won, or $95 million. And that cost is a sum of 5 international sporting events over 4 years. What you're seeing there in the image is an empty site of where a boat race was held this past August, which ended in the red to the tune of $81 million, according to the caption. The subheadline says 0 events ended in the black, leaving the citizens to shoulder the cost. Meanwhile, Gyeongyang Shinmun's front page shows a group of ruling Saenuri Party lawmakers holding picket signs demonstrating against their rival Democratic Party counterparts, and the title above there reads, triggered by criticism against president, ruling party holds nationwide protest tour. And the subheadline explains this as the Saenuri Party, together with interest groups, calling for the resignation of the 2 DP lawmakers who made controversial remarks against President Park Geun-hye, while the DP are criticizing the protests as an added element to the push to characterize any critic as a North Korean sympathizer. And we'll go ahead and wrap things up with a look at Made Business newspaper this morning. Its headline over there reads, labor costs drive foreign car makers out of Korea. And citing industry sources, the paper says that French brand Renault will shift its production of the updated model of the SUV, the QM5, from its Busan plant to China, where the French car maker is planning to build a factory in the Hubei province. The company's chief performance officer, Jerome Stoll, in a recent Korea visit, had expressed his concerns for the growing labor costs here. Renault's decision comes after GM Korea's decision to shift production, you'll remember. And the paper wonders if the original wage decision, slated for the 18th next Wednesday at the Supreme Court, will trigger more such foreign automakers to follow suit. And with that, we'll wrap your look at what's in print on this Friday. Next up are your closing numbers from Thursday's market action.
And as we mentioned at the top of our program, it is not only cold, but very slippery out there. And it's going to be another cold day today.
That's right. For a closer look at the weather conditions for today, we're going to go to our Idami, who joins us from Yeongdeung-pogu, Seoul. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, everyone, and TGIF. Today I am reporting live from Yeongdeung-pogu, Seoul. Now, I thought that yesterday was cold, but today is even colder, as it is supposedly the coldest day of the season so far. Right now here in Seoul, temperatures are at negative 8.1 degrees Celsius. Brr, just talking or saying that number makes it even colder. There are also cold wave watches over in Gyeonggi-do and Gangwon-do. So all I can say is make sure to bundle up from head to toe. As for the conditions, we will be seeing clear skies throughout the day here in Seoul. However, over in Chungcheongnam-do, there are heavy snow alerts that have been issued. There will be some snow piling up, so please be cautious on the roads. But in conditions like these, I advise taking public transportation. Now, over the weekend, it looks like the cold snap is going to continue. We will be seeing lows within the negatives. The Weather Center says that our temperatures will start to rise just a bit starting sometime next week. So we'll just have to cross our fingers for that. And until then, hang in there. All right, with that said, let's go ahead and check the weather around the nation. Seoul's highs will stay in the negatives at -2, Daejeon and Gangneung at -1, Busan at 5, Gwangju at 3, Jeju Island at 8 degrees. That's all I have for the weather. I'll be back to give you an update on the outside conditions in the latter half.
It's the first decentralized virtual currency. Bitcoins are a hot commodity these days. What exactly is a Bitcoin, and could this be the next big thing in the world of e-commerce?
I think the first question is the same question that many people have, as its technicalities are complex and the mechanism difficult to understand. So Song Ji-hun has more for us on that to shed some light on Bitcoins. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, guys. It's a very difficult terms out there, and actually it's peer-to-peer digital currency and payment network, which was invented in the wake of the global financial crisis back in 2009 by a computer scientist using the alias Satoshi Nakamoto. But despite the Japanese name, we don't know who he or she is, or whether he's an individual or a group. But speculations are that he could be a European economist who was pessimistic about the current monetary policies and currency inflation. It's a two-way virtual currency without a central bank or administration. It's peer-to-peer traded money. Now that peer-to-peer means all personal computers used for Bitcoin's transactions become part of the network connected between users instead of a main server. Now only 21 million units can ever be created, and currently 12 million Bitcoins have been issued. That's almost half of the total amount designed to be issued. And Bitcoin payments are encrypted, and you do not need personal information to create an account. That means you could create an anonymous account, that is, but all transactions are logged into its open source system, so anyone can look into it anytime if there's a doubt. And it's a currency without borders, so there's almost no fee or international transactions, which is seen as a merit for using Bitcoin, while the high value of the fluctuations and the possibility that the currency could be used in black market or for illegal transactions remain at risk.
Right. The value of a Bitcoin has jumped significantly over the months. It sounds like something I want to get my hands on. How do I acquire Bitcoins or buy Bitcoins?
That's another difficult question, especially if you're not an expert. Actually, Bitcoin is yielded when computers solve a code-breaking problems, which is called mining. And that more than Bitcoins are mined, the harder those problems become to get the Bitcoin based on its algorithm designed to control its supply. And it's almost impossible for a non-expert to acquire Bitcoin through individual mining, so many people join some type of guild to afford the necessary gears and computers and raise their chance of attaining a Bitcoin. If you cannot dispense that much time or assets to mining, but have some cash to trade for a Bitcoin, you can buy through an easier channel. Now, mostly through online, there are numerous Bitcoin exchange markets on the internet in each country or internationally. It's very much like its stock market. A deal is done when buyer places an order matching the seller's bid. And actually, there's a Korea's Bitcoin market opened in Corbett, and I actually tried it myself, and I went out to the first offline stores to accept Bitcoin here in Korea. Let's take a look.
You can now trade Bitcoin in the Korean won too. Through Corbett, Korea's Bitcoin exchange market launched in July, and buy merchandise with the virtual currency.
At this bakery, you can pay with Bitcoin in the blink of an eye just by scanning the QR code with a smartphone application.
The app converts purchase value from won to Bitcoin, and the amount is sent to seller's electronic coin wallet. As a Bitcoin is worth around 1 million Korean won as of Thursday, 10,000 Korean won, or $10 is worth around 0.01 Bitcoin.
My son was studying finance in New York and introduced Bitcoin to our family. We saw the value of Bitcoin was skyrocketing, and then I asked if we could adopt the system to our shop.
He says an average of 1 customer per day has paid with Bitcoin since his shop started accepting it at the start of the month. But the owner is not considering cashing out his new Bitcoins anytime soon, as he believes the value of the virtual currency will continue to rise.
Even on Corbett, Bitcoin rose threefold over the past month. I think it will continue to rise as more people get to know it and become interested in it. I'm thinking of keeping all Bitcoins paid by my customers.
Most people believe Bitcoin will continue growing in value due to the limited supply and soaring demand. But the wild fluctuations in recent months have some questioning Bitcoin's stability as a currency.
A currency needs to show stability and should not be used as an investment for speculation. But many people buy Bitcoin for profit these days. Traditional currencies can be issued and are bound to inflation, but Bitcoin is bound to deflation as the money supply is limited.
The value of 1 Bitcoin topped $1,000 last month,
That's nearly 76 times its value last year. In China, the world's largest Bitcoin market, Bitcoin's value has jumped 91-fold since January 1st this year. As the market has overheated, China has banned financial institutions from using or circulating Bitcoin, but some Western countries recognize Bitcoin and are seeking ways to embrace it as a means of payment.
Most central banks see Bitcoin as a legitimate financial service, but say it cannot function as nor replace existing currencies. Thailand has made the transaction of Bitcoin illegal, while Germany and Canada acknowledge Bitcoin as a currency and now seeking measures to tax its transactions.
The Bank of Korea held working-level meeting with the Finance Ministry on how to approach Bitcoin, but is yet to publish its official stance.
There's no doubt that Bitcoin is the most successful virtual currency to date, and it can also be used to track transactions through its open structure. But its instability as a currency and the lack of intervention with its value will limit its usefulness in a wider sense.
Okay, so some countries around the world are actually seeing this as a tradable form of e-commerce and taking some action. China has banned this. What is Seoul's position?
Well, Seoul has not released its official stance just yet, but just yesterday on Thursday, after the monthly monetary policy meeting held in the Bank of Korea, the central bank governor Kim Jung-soo told reporters that it's questionable to see the Bitcoin as currency due to its high volatility. He went on to say it's hard to talk about the future of Bitcoin, but given its limited acceptability, it may be difficult for Bitcoin to develop into non-legal tender. The BOK is preparing a report on whether Bitcoin can become a means of payment and settlement, but it largely remains negative about such a possibility.
So the store that you visited that we saw in the report is the only store in Korea that accepts Bitcoin, right? So how likely is it that this will be widely used in the future?
Right, just one store, offline store accepting Bitcoin here in Korea, but you could have more stores abroad in such as US. For example, Nike, you could buy sneakers with Bitcoin, and you could also pay in hotels and restaurants such as the Marriott and Burger King, as well as Gap, another retailer. And you could also pay a lot of online trades and transactions. So it's actually, we have to wait and see if more offline stores and more institutions will start to accept Bitcoin as a currency. But for now, it's better to see it as an alternative or supplementary payment than as a legal currency.
I'm starting to understand this very complicated concept, but until I get a full grasp of this Bitcoin business, I think I'll stick to my good old coins.
That's right.
Or you could use it as an investment to just wait and see if its value keeps going up.
Well, I could forget about mining for it because I'll never get that. So I guess I might think about trading for it. Right?
All right. Thank you, Ji-sung, for this story.
Thank you very much. And still ahead on Korea Today, we are going to check our entertainment sector and check out an artist who is a singer and a songwriter, one of the best in the industry. Her name is Younha, and her exceptional talent is she's back with a new album. It's full of songs perfect for the winter. She'll warm you up in this cold season.
If you're a huge follower of celebrity fashion, you know where to look when you want to get the latest trend in fashion when it comes to celebrities, the airport.
Oh, the airport.
Not the magazines.
No, also the magazines,
right?
but
It's because
the airport.
when we go to the airport, when I go to the airport, I'll speak for myself, I just throw on whatever is the most comfortable article of clothing, right?
Most people do that.
But these stars, they have to look good going in and coming out of the airport. So we'll take a look at airport fashion.
The Mnet Asian Music Awards, the Korea-China Music Awards, and tours to other countries, Korean celebrities are busier than ever at the end of the year. And it's not only their performances that are in the spotlight, but their fashion trends, especially at places like the airport. So let's take a look at the new winter trends through celebrity fashion. Ahead of one of the coldest winters expected, celebrities are turning to clothes with comforting warm looks rather than skin-bearing outfits. The most eye-catching outwear trend is shearling coats. With their boxy and rough looks, they used to be most enjoyed by the middle-aged in Korea, but with fashion icons such as Ko Jun이 embracing the style, shearlings have become a hot item for the season.
There aren't many clothes that are warm and also look stylish, but as long as you know how to handle the bulky look of shearling jackets, it can be very fashionable. That's why it's popular.
The vintage boxy shearling can look as if you pulled a jacket out from your father's closet, so slim and well-fitting designs are becoming more popular. Unlike down jackets, shearling coats offer a one-of-a-kind taste with an extra layer of style. When it comes to fashion, it's really about head to toe. Fashionistas such as G-Dragon, Ko Jun이, and CL have one thing in common. It's their roll-up pants.
It's good that you can put on a more casual and cuter look. If you go with tighter skinny jeans or slim pants, it looks good to create a thin cuff so that you can barely see the ankle. That will give it a more stylish look.
The rolled cuff look can add a breeze of lightness to your style, but if you try too hard, you might end up making your legs look shorter than they are. There's another notable trend this winter in the casual look of celebrities at airports.
Soft colors such as pink, blue, and emerald green are popular these days.
It's none other than vivid or pastel colors which are replacing the winter favorites such as black, grey and camel that are heavier in tone.
In fashion, there's nothing more powerful and attractive than the power of color. It's almost like you're putting on beautiful jewelry.
And to look at trends in coats of many colors, we stopped by a store to check out the latest.
Black and camel are the basic colors, but these days we're seeing more customers looking for pastel tones, especially colors like mint.
To wear it right, remember that special shade of your coat should be the most notable element, so it's important to style it with toned-down colors on the inside. Unlike fancy outfits on stage, casual looks donned by stars, especially at places like the airport, are great places to identify the season's trend. This winter, how about adding some extra elements of fun and creating your own look for the season?
It's 7:28 a.m. on this Friday morning, and we are going to talk about a very special, talented singer-songwriter by the name of Younha, and Denny Hong joins us with more. Good morning.
Good morning, guys. And of course, it is winter now. Yesterday with the snow, I think if you were listening to this song yesterday, it might have kind of put you in a good mood, right? So Younha is back with a new album for the winter. It just dropped last Friday as a release to the market. It's been getting a lot of attention, and so I got a chance to interview her and talk with her about her new album. So let's take a look. With an explosive voice that she projects from her petite frame, singer-songwriter Younha is known for her exceptional talent. She left for Japan to become a singer at the age of 16 and was praised for her talent as she swept the Oricon chart in Japan. Now she is loved not only in Japan, but China and Canada. It's now been 10 years since Younha debuted, and she is back with her special winter album, Subsonic.
코리아투데이 시청자 여러분 안녕하세요. 이번 앨범 서브소닉으로 돌아온 가수 윤하입니다. 반갑습니다.
Ahead of the full release of her album, the song It's Okay, with its dreamlike music video and voice rich with emotions, became popular, creating a stir about her album. Could you sing us a line from the song?
그럼요. 마치 12월의 어느 날 눈이 오는 것처럼 살다 몇 번쯤은 눈물이 내려오겠죠. 그때 누가 내게 말해줄래요. 울어도 괜찮다 괜찮다 괜찮다. 이번 앨범은 좀 은은하게 같이 가는 팬들에게 그리고 리스너들에게 좀 더 위로가 되었으면 하는 게 이번 앨범의 전반적인 컨셉이 된 것 같아요.
The title track of her new album is Not There. It drew much attention even before its release because hip-hop artist Elephant took part in its creation.
힙합 그런 그루브를 가진 곡이고 약간 좀 독특한 장르처럼 저는 느껴져요. 쉽지는 않았던 것 같은데 재밌는 작업이었습니다.
At the young age of 16, she quit school and left for Japan not knowing what would be in store for her. Without receiving any help from an agency, she created her own opportunities with her talent and debuted not in Korea, but in Japan first. With a dream that she would one day become a singer, Younha sang in a small cafe in Japan, and she first received spotlight for singing the theme song Ho Kiboshi from the animation series Bleach. That's how her first regular album, Go Younha, was born. On the first day of its release, she climbed to the top 10 ranks of Oricon's daily chart, giving her the title Oricon's Comet. As Younha received more attention as a singer in Japan, she also gained the opportunity to work as an actress in the country. It has now been a decade since her debut.
너무 어렸을 때라서 사실 그때는 사랑받는 감사함이라든지 그런 것보다는 그냥 제가 하고 싶은 걸 열심히 했고 그걸 예쁘게 봐주셨던 것 같아요. 지금은 조금 다르지 않나, 뭔가 쌍방향 소통이 되고 있지 않나라는 생각이 좀 들고요.
Now, Younha has taken on new challenges. Last year, she visited Canada, a first time for the artist, and performed pop-up performances on the streets promoting K-pop. Also this summer, she took on a role in a musical in China called The Lost Garden as the female lead role, along with G.O.D group member Kim Tae-woo, and successfully wrapped up her debut performance. Unlike some of her other peers, Younha has relied on her own skills and talent to win over the hearts of the public. From her debut album until now, she has released songs of her own, securing her position as a singer-songwriter. And her ambition still knows no bounds when it comes to taking on new challenges.
나이가 더 많이 먹으면 재즈 음악도 한번 해보고 싶고요. 빅밴드 음악도 해보고 싶고 어떤 장르라고 한정되는 게 아니라 그때그때 보여드릴 수 있는 모습을 보여드리는 게 제 목표예요. 지금까지 제 이야기 들어주셔서 너무 감사드리고요. 이번 앨범과 앞으로 가수 윤하의 행보도 많이 기대해 주셨으면 좋겠어요. 연말 공연에서 뵐게요. 고맙습니다.
I remember Younha as being a rock musician with a lot more energy and powerful singing, but she's going a little softer this time around in time for the winter season.
Well, don't consider it to be like a full change here. I mean, she did say that she was thinking about maybe, hopefully in the future, sometime doing like a jazz album, which I think would actually work really well. But this is just a ballad on her album. There's still some upbeat songs on there too, so it's not going to be a huge change.
So this is the one that they're promoting, her ballad.
It is, and it is a lovely song. And of course, we got to hear her sing it just on the spot, so I was very impressed with that too.
Beautiful voice, really.
Yeah, it's very soothing too, but also she is able to hit those high notes, which everyone kind of knows her for as well. So I think people can look forward to the album doing quite well. It did come out last Friday, and it's been getting a lot of different attention from not only other celebrities and other singers, but also on the social media sites as well too. So you can look forward to that later on.
But before debuting in Japan and becoming big, didn't she audition for more than 20 times in Korea and never made it?
Well, I think the closest thing she got, she did audition quite a bit. You got to realize she came out when she was 16 years old as a singer. She did audition for one of those reality shows here in Korea back in 2002. She made the top 20 and then got cut from the show, right?
Wow.
And it's interesting because in more recent years on these reality singing shows, a lot of her songs are being used as audition pieces. In fact, it got to the point where a couple of shows have banned using one of her songs. One of her songs, Waiting, too many people were auditioning with that song. They were saying, can we just no longer use that?
Not listen to it anymore.
It's an interesting, ironic twist, I would say.
Well, it's not just her music that's in demand when it comes to audition music, but also her voice is in high demand amongst her peers. She's been collaborating and featured on many of their albums. What could be behind the demand for Younha's voice?
I think it's the versatility of her voice. As we just saw, she's good for ballads as well too, but since she does a little rock style in her voice as well, you can use that for not only the more harder edged tunes, but also some of the softer ones too. So because of the versatility in her voice, and of course she is an instrumentalist, she plays guitar and piano, so she can, I guess, fill a lot of different areas for collaborations.
That really, I think, puts that extra added twist when you see her on that piano. It's like almost a female version of Elton John, seeing her perform.
That's an honor.
I was just going to go with Alicia Keys there, but...
Alicia Keys, okay, we'll put it there. All right, thank you very much, Denny.
Thank you, Denny. All right, let's check back in with our Dami, who joins us from Saekgang Station.
Well, before we get to Dami, we'll find out what's coming up ahead on our program. We're going to be looking at one of the original comfort foods, comfort instant foods, that is. Ramyun, or instant noodles, is called the second staple dish following rice in Korea. Matthew Chung, he visits a Ramyun buffet to check out all the flavors that he can and also cooks up a special fusion dish that you won't be able to resist. We'll ask him about his recipe.
Oh, it looks so good.
Ooh, right? Every time Matthew comes, we just get really hungry. But we're going to go right now over to Tommy, who is joining us from a subway station, and we'll find out what she has for us.
It got a little brighter.
I'm back reporting live from Saekgang Station located in Yeongdeung-Pogu, Seoul. Now this morning there are quite a few busy morning commuters that are passing by here and there time to time, and of course dressed up from head to toe because today it's apparently the coldest day of the season so far. Temperatures right now are at negative 8.1 degrees Celsius and it is simply freezing. There are sharp gale winds that are blowing our way. As for most of the main roads here in Yeongdeung-Pogu, Seoul, conditions have mostly cleared out. However, the streets are there still are signs of icy patches, so make sure to wear flat shoes when heading out. Now, apparently this year we will be receiving more rounds of snow this year, and just to give you an explanation of why, now over in Siberia, those areas are receiving a lot of snow, and with all of that snow piling up, the cold conditions have gotten much more severe. With this cold snap affecting us, and now this cold snap is affecting us by passing through the west coast where it's warm, and with the two different conditions colliding with each other, that is the explanation for the snow clouds to form. Now, with the wintry days ahead of us and, of course, the snow coming ahead of us, make sure to be prepared, of course, by keeping yourselves warm. But some of the cautionary hazards that we should talk about is actually a few people that have been passing by, I saw a couple of mistakes, which is most of them had their hands in their pockets. Now, this can be dangerous because whenever you're walking on slippery walk paths, then there's always a chance that you could trip and fall, and you need your hands to support yourself. So keep your hands out of your pockets, and of course, course, if, always having a warm beverage is a nice thing to do. Coffee can be nice, but because of all the caffeine, it doesn't help with the warm blood circulation throughout your body, so it actually makes you colder. So why not stop by, have a warm beverage, and gulp that down and keep yourself warm. That's all I have for today. Have a wonderful weekend, and of course, keep yourselves warm. I'm Idami, Korea Today.
And TGI Friday, everyone, as we kick things off with the South Korean national football team. Now, on Thursday, manager Hong Myung-bo returned to Korea from his visit to Brazil and held a short press conference. Now, when asked about the recent World Cup draw, manager Hong Myung-bo stated that he doesn't care who they're facing off against and will prepare the team like he would against any other teams in the tournament. At the same time, he feels that the team is currently 70% ready for the World Cup and still needs a lot of work. Meanwhile, manager Hong added that he plans to add a foreign coach to the staff, but did not reveal who he has in mind just yet. And staying with football, but over on the women's side, where after much speculation, 22-year-old Ji So-yeon is close to a deal that would make her the first female Korean footballer to head over to England. Now, the South Korean international, who currently plays over in Japan, will be signing with Chelsea Ladies FC, as sources say that the signing will come as early as end of the month or early January. Now, nicknamed G Messi after Argentinian superstar Lionel Messi, she scored 26 goals in 55 international matches so far and helped INET Kobe win back-to-back titles since joining the team. And moving on to some Thursday night KBL action, Anyang KGC continues to struggle this season after losing to Jeonju KCC Aegis 71-64 to remain dead last in the league. Meanwhile, a repeat of last year's championship matchup, Seoul SK Knights taking on Ulsan Mobis Phoebus. Let's take a look at the highlights. Now, going into the game here, first quarter of the game, a relatively low-scoring game from the start as Mobis takes a slim 15-13 lead before going into halftime with a 31-29 lead thanks to Moon Tae-young's 11 points in the first half. But the second half of the game, SK rallies back to take a 2-point lead going into the fourth quarter before Courtney Sims and Park Sang-ho combining for 24 points in the fourth as SK dominates Mobis 75-60, your final score. And now finishing things off with some Thursday night's V-League action, IBK Altos beat Hungok Insurance Life Pink Spiders 3-0 over on the women's side as they remain in first place. Meanwhile, a big matchup over on the men's side as Hyundai Capital Skywalkers took on the Korean Air Jumbos. Now, first set, Liberman Algamez shaky with the serve receive, but still manages to put up 8 points to help Hyundai Capital take the first set 25-20. Second set, Korean Air answers back with 25-22 set win to level the match 1-1. Liberman Algamez continues to struggle defensively as he makes 13 errors on the night, but answers back with 33 attack points as Hyundai Capital takes the next two sets 25-21, 25-19 as they beat Korean Air Jumbos 3-1. And that's going to wrap it up for me. This has been SJ. Have a great weekend, everyone, and see you guys again for your sports needs.
Yes, I just heard Hyungyang's
no, you promised you will not say that on air.
I thought it was an earthquake. I thought we were hearing some thunder.
Talk about our favorite food, ramyun.
That's right. Ramyun is our favorite food. It's practically my favorite food as well. I think I have it at least like twice a week.
Once a day.
Once a
Come
day.
on.
Okay, I'm lying. Once a day or so. But it's such a favorite of Koreans that an average Korean has it at least once a week. And Matthew Chung joins us to talk more about ramyun. Good morning.
And my stomach welcomes you.
Well, he didn't bring any ramyun, so.
But that makes it even worse, isn't it? But you're right, and you're not alone in terms of having ramyun as one of your favorite foods because, it's delicious for one. I mean, I think that's kind of, the main story here, but it's also easy to make, and it comes in such a wide spectrum of flavors. So, there's no wonder that, 59% of Korean adults have it at least once a week. So believe me, don't feel bad about your ramen habit because you are not alone. And we visited some unique ramen restaurants, and I came up with a couple of dishes of my own. So let's take a look. So there are probably few foods out there that are as popular as ramyun. This year, 2013, as a matter of fact, marks the 50th anniversary of ramyun's introduction to Korea. Now, recently, a Gallup poll has been conducted, and it turns out that 59% of Korean adults enjoy ramyun at least once a week. So why don't we take a look and see exactly what makes this dish so popular? So right now we're at Self Noodle, which is a ramen place with an interesting twist. Here, you can pick up to 50 different toppings, and you really have control over everything that you do because you cook it right at the table yourself. But enough of this, it's time to pick out my ramen. I'm kind of in a classic mood today, going with some green onion, white onion. You really have to either pick a direction and stick with it, or dedicate yourself to having 3 or 4 different types of ramyun. So there's always the question, do you leave this whole? Do you break it? How do you put it in there? Personally for me, I like a good break. I think this is exactly what I needed. Super good call on the crab and the bean sprouts, the two together. I'm very proud of myself. So we've taken a look at the different types of ramyun available here in Korea. You have types like jjajangmyeon-based ramyun, and you have also sagol, which is based off of a white beef bone broth. But what we want to do today is something a little bit different. Our first recipe we're going to do is a ramyun lasagna. We're going to take care of our vegetables. So now it's time to strain our stock. That's what you want to see. Time for probably the main flavor ingredient, gochujang. Now we're going to put some 물엿 in here. Now, 물엿, it's corn syrup. And then put our 깻잎 right in. It's time to cook our ramyun now. And the important thing is that we want to cook it only halfway. So that sari, it keeps its shape. All right, so we're just about at the perfect state. It's still keeping that shape. Now, this wouldn't be lasagna if it didn't get a nice coating of cheese on top. So for our next dish, we're gonna make ramyun skewers. We're gonna start making our sauce. A little bit of 물엿, gochujang, oyster sauce, ketchup, a little bit of garlic. So now it's time to make the ramyun skewers. A little bit of cornstarch. We're gonna take our chopsticks and we're going to wrap the noodles around. All right, and one by one, into the pan they go. Who knew that you can turn noodles into skewers? And it's got all those flavors that you love. It's got the sweet, it's got the spicy, it's got that soft and pillowy boiled noodles. So it's really got everything that you'd want in a dish. So this is the jjampong ramen. Now, jjampong, it's a spicy seafood soup to begin with, so it's not that far of a leap to make translation. So it makes a ton of sense, and I'm literally having trouble talking right now because I'm salivating. This smells so good, especially on a day like this, so I'm just gonna dive right into it. One thing you can tell immediately, even before tasting it, when it hits you in the nose, you can tell that they do their own seasoning here. They don't rely on that, little dry packet of soup. But this is, honest to God, a true stock that, has been boiled. They've taken the care in extracting all the flavors and packing as much of it as they can. And it all tastes real, which is great. And now, here's their bulgogi ramyeon. And that's what this dish is. It's basically 뚝배기 bulgogi, but with ramyeon in it. And again, like the jampong ramyeon, it's not an instant powder, but it's a stock that they boil for hours on end. So let's give this one a taste. It has mushrooms, it has cabbage, it has beef in there, lots of beef. Koreans, we love ramyeon. To understand Korean cuisine as it is today, you have to get to know Korean ramyeon. Because the fact is that we're all eating it, and for good reason too, because it's delicious.
Good. I love ramyeon myself, but one of the reasons people feel bad about confessing to eating ramyeon regularly is because of the public, I guess, the popular belief that ramyeon is not so good for you.
It's become a guilty pleasure, hasn't it?
I mean, it's not health food, that's for sure. But at the same time, I think it's come under fire in an unfair sort of way. I mean, sure, it's not the healthiest thing out there, but there are ways to make it healthier. For one, it's like cutting back on the soup, the little soup packet, because
the powder.
Yeah, the powder. By skipping out on the soup or cutting it way down, you can save up to 100 calories and also cut way down on the sodium level.
It just doesn't taste as good.
Why bother?
Well, but so what I do is I add extra things like things like bean sprouts. Chopped peppers, some onions in there. So basically, by bulking it up with things that are good for you, it kind of pushes them.
That bad things.
Exactly.
Okay.
So what's the proper way, would you say, to cook ramyeon? Because some people, it all boils down to the intensity or the elasticity of the noodle, right?
And I'm going to come under fire here just because everyone has their own special way. But as far as I know, the best way to cook it is to do it, make sure you're at a rolling boil. Make sure that water is hot. And, so most instant ramyeon take about 3 to 5 minutes to cook. About a minute into it, just loosen it up a little bit so it cooks evenly all throughout. And then there's the egg. A lot of people have their own styles. Some people like to do a poached egg style.
Controversial
thing. Actually,
whether to break the egg or not.
The way I do it is probably the most reviled out of all of them, and that's stirring it into it because it makes the sauce just so rich.
It can break up a relationship, if you stir the egg and then the person doesn't like enjoying it with goes, no.
What I do is I separate the yolk from the white and I stir the white and I put the yolk right on top.
You have a complicated way of eating your ramyeon.
I want my ramyeon done right. 파송송 계란탁, all right? With a little bit of spring onions there. Okay, there's some fun statistics of ramyeon, isn't there?
There are. So, according to the World Instant Noodle Association, and I love that there's a World Instant Noodle Association.
I was going to say there is an association.
Cool. So, according to them, back in 2012, global sales of instant noodles 100 billion units. That's billion with a B. If you lined up all those noodles end to end, it would circle the globe 60 times.
Wow.
So, and in terms of world rankings, China's number one at 44 billion units, but we're number one per capita. Per person 72 packages of ramyeon a year.
Well, China has so many people.
Out of that.
All right,
we'll make that 73 for this year because we're having ramyeon today. All right, Matthew, thank you very much.
Always a pleasure.
Okay, that brings us to the end of this edition of Korea Today.
All right, enjoy your weekend, enjoy your Friday. We'll see you back here Monday morning at 7 a.m.
Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.